Okay, today's video might be slightly controversial. Occasionally, I will receive different comments and communicate with different people here on this platform, and it just kind of makes me think, oh boy, I hope I've been really clear about what it is that I believe and people don't assume certain things about me. And so I wanted to make this video to kind of clear up any confusion, and so you guys know a bit more about the position that I hold and what it is that I believe in regards to being a traditional Christian stay-at-home mom. So I've noticed that there seems to be kind of these two extreme camps, and I want to be very clear that I am in neither one of these camps. So the first camp, and this one is probably very obvious by my channel, that I am definitely not a part of, is this radical feminist camp. Now, I want to say really quick that I've talked to different friends, I've talked to different women, and I'll ask them, are you a feminist? And they'll say, yes, I am. And then when I ask them to describe what they consider a feminist or what beliefs they hold, I'm like, okay, that's not what I mean. The type of camp that I'm talking about, this radical feminist camp, is kind of the vibe you get off of like some TikTok videos, some Instagrammers, different things like that. The view is very anti-men, anti-family. Children are just like this curse. The only reason why a woman would ever stay at home is if she's, abused or somehow manipulated. Women would never choose that on their own. You don't need a man. You shouldn't want a man. You shouldn't want a relationship. Just these very negative, I think very harmful beliefs. And so clearly I'm not in that camp. I'm married, have a couple of kids, love it. Absolutely love my husband. He is the most amazing guy I've ever met. But the other camp that I want to talk about that I'm definitely not a part of is probably less familiar to a lot of people. But as a girl who has grown up in a very conservative, homeschooled environment, I have actually had quite a bit of experience with this group. And this group is this very, very ultra conservative, maybe legalistic type group. And I'm not saying all conservatives are this way. I consider myself very much a conservative. And I know the majority of the homeschooled conservative people that I know don't believe it either. But I do know women that have come out of this ultra conservative background. I've talked to different people who believe these things. And so some of the things that this ultra conservative group kind of says or holds to is this extremely low view of women, that literally women were made for their ovaries to be a slave literally to their husbands. Now don't get me wrong, I'm all for being my husband's helper. I've made videos talking about that. This view that women can basically not think for themselves. I remember reading this one guy's comment one time, not on one of my videos, but on a different video, and he was talking about how he can't share with his wife how he actually feels about things because she's the weaker vessel and she can't like bear it or something like that. It was just like, oh my goodness, come on. This idea that women can at no point in their lifetime have a job or work outside of the home, it's just a really sad view of women to have that I don't think the Bible teaches at all. I'm going to be sharing why I believe that. And also, I think it's ammunition to the feminists. So, that being said, those are the two extreme groups, and I want to be very clear that I am in no way a part of this ultra-conservative, extremely low regard of women group that's out there. And I just wanted to clarify on that because I have received different comments, I've talked to different people, and I've thought, oh boy, like don't associate me with that. I do not believe that at all. I think that's completely wrong and extremely damaging and dangerous. So, that being said, what is it then that I do believe? I want to share just some different things, not perfectly in order, but some different beliefs that I do firmly have that I believe are good and helpful and beneficial to families. So I'm clearly a stay-at-home mom. I totally believe in being your husband's support, being your husband's helper, being his companion, his helpmeet. I really firmly believe in the importance of a mother being the primary influence and the primary caregiver to her children, especially at those younger, more moldable years of a child's life. And I reaped, and my whole family of siblings, all 6 of us, reaped the tremendous blessings of our mom, who is willing to really prioritize her children and her family and God above everything else. So with that being said, I do really think that the Bible emphasizes, like I said, a mother and a father being the primary raisers of their children and being the primary influencers of their children. And I think that's really important. I also believe that the Bible is really clear that men are called to be providers and to take care of their family financially as well. Now, clearly there can be exceptions. Like, for an example, my great-grandfather was really hurt to the extent that they thought he wouldn't even live, and because of the physical problems that he experienced, he wasn't able to work. And so my great-grandma worked and my great-grandfather raised the children. And so obviously there are exceptions, but I do think as a principle, men need to be providers and women need to be their husband's helper and their supporter in that process. And I've made videos talking about that, being your husband's helper. Also, I understand that in different parts of the world, in different states even, living expenses are extremely high. And so I've talked to different wives who have said, I literally do have to work in order for us to survive. And so I understand that there are cases like that, and I totally get that. That being said, though, I do think if you are a woman who would like to stay at home, or maybe you're considering that, I think a few things to think of that I've just observed is that our standards of living are so much higher now than they used to be. So back in the 1950s, back in the 1940s, people had way more kids than they're having now, but they lived in a house on average that was about 700 to 800 square feet. That's a small home. That's what we live in right now with just 2 kids. They had 1 car. People didn't have multiple cars in a family until much more recently. So they weren't paying on their boat and their 5 cars and their 4,000 square foot home every single month. And so obviously it was easier to live on less money. And so I do think we have extremely high expectations as far as what we think is normal and what we think we have to have in order to be happy. And so I think lowering those expectations and realizing we can live on less, if in your case it's healthier for you to be at home with your kids, which I think in a lot of cases that is ideal if possible, then to really consider that. Another thing that I've noticed, I've talked to different moms and they've said, by the time I paid for the childcare, I literally was bringing home no money, even though I was making good money. Childcare is expensive, and I mean, to some extent it should be. You're literally hiring someone to watch one of your most prized, most valuable, most precious things you have. It should cost a bit of money. And yet, I think that is something to take into account as well. Are you actually making money afterward? I personally think it is really healthy when a mother can stay at home with their children, especially when they're really young, if possible. But that being said, I do not hold the view that women in no point in their life are supposed to have a job or have a career. I don't agree with that at all. Read Proverbs 31. It's very clear. This woman was a businesswoman. She was an entrepreneur. She was investing in real estate. She was out planting vineyards. She was extremely, extremely disciplined. She was rising while it was still dark. And so I think it's completely wrong to say it's not biblical to have women working. I really disagree with that. But like I said, Titus 2 talks about the importance of women loving their husbands, loving their children, tending to their home. And so I think there's value and importance and a high emphasis that should be put on that. But I don't think if you're single or if your kids are older, you are just called to stay at home if there's not a job there that you are tending to that needs to be done. Making that one clear. The next thing though that I want to clarify that I hope I've never come across as is that I found more in the maybe slightly less conservative but more like stay-at-home mom group. There can be a super high pressure to have some type of a side business or side hustle, where you're almost viewed as maybe unambitious or not super motivated, or like you have no dreams or goals outside of being a mom. You need to have something else to add on to your title. I took this business course about 2 years ago, and it had lots of helpful things in it. It was done by a Christian woman. There was a lot of kind of like support groups in it of just women sharing their experiences and what it was that they were trying to succeed in. But I just felt like there was so much pressure on women to honestly to really sacrifice their family and their children for the sake of having some title, even as a stay-at-home mom. You guys know I am all for having different dreams and goals, and I have lots of things I'd love to do that don't just involve being a mom. I hope that you guys have never felt by watching my videos that I'm putting too much of an emphasis on that, because I'm really thankful to my mom. She acknowledged the season she was in, and at different seasons she sacrificed different dreams she had or set them aside for the benefit and health of her family, and we benefited greatly from that. And in the long run, I think the fruit was far better than if she had invested it in something else that she really wanted to do, but it just wasn't the right season. And so I'm learning more and more that there are seasons of motherhood, and not to assume that this season that I'm in right now is going to be the one that I'm always going to be stuck in. That's in no way the case. And so I hope that you guys haven't felt by watching my videos, because I love to share what I'm learning, and I love to really talk about different goals that I have, that you feel a pressure that in order to be a good mom or to seem cool or something, you have to run some side hustle 9 hours a day along with taking care of your kids at home. The last thing that I wanted to mention, I am very much a proponent of women thinking for themselves and educating themselves, 100%. I love the story of Mary and Martha. Here Martha is kind of serving, cooking, doing all this stuff, and Jesus tells her that Mary has chosen the better thing. And what was Mary doing? Mary was sitting at Jesus' feet. Mary was being educated by the Savior of the world. Mary was doing theology, and what is theology? It's just the study of God. And so I really am all for and highly encourage women to use your brain. God gave you one, so use it and learn and grow and improve yourself and learn what you believe and learn how to articulate it well. I'm still totally in that phase myself of learning how to defend a case, learning how to present a view well. I've by no means reached where I would like to be, but I do want to expand and grow my mind. I think that's incredibly important for everybody, and it's incredibly important for our children to see. I think us learning and growing. My mom is like the biggest learner, grower, studier, incredibly smart person that I know. She uses her brain to the max, let me just say, to the max. So yeah, sorry if this video is a little long-winded. I just felt like I need to sit down and dedicate a whole video to talking about what it is that I believe and what it is that I don't believe, and so that there's no confusion and there's not all these assumptions being made that I am in one of these camps when I'm not. And I hope that that's clear. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you hopefully again soon. Bye.